San Francisco-based artist Mike Relm could be called a DJ, a VJ, a real-time mashup artist, but really he's in a class of his own. As a solo artist, Mike blows minds with audio mashups and video images, manipulated in real time with a turntable. He's going to do a quick demonstration of what it is that he does, and then after that, he'll talk a bit about how technology is redefining self-expression and the ways in which our networked world can turn a cool idea into a global phenomenon. He'll be joined in conversation by Ray Roker, who's the co-founder of URB magazine and now runs URB.com. Please give him a warm welcome.
Hi. Check, check. Hi, thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Some water.
Oh, thanks.
That was very nice. Very, very nice.
That felt good.
So that actually leads me to my first question. I actually want to, what comes first for you? Visual or music? What, from an inspiration standpoint, how do you launch into a routine?
In the beginning, it definitely was music because I started out as a DJ. So already I was looking at music. DJ looks at music maybe a little bit differently from the average person because we're looking at things, in bits and pieces. Like, what can I do with that phrase that Jay-Z says? And that, maybe I can loop that and like turn that into something and go into a different song out of that. Just like how, we're definitely deconstructing music in our heads as we're listening to it. So just having that frame of mind, like for half of my life, moving into film, working films and TV and online video clips into my set, it was the exact same mindset. When I watch things now, I'm like, okay, well that's a nice little clean clip that I could probably jack and use in my set.
The music is, you're hearing the lyric, and the lyric is inspiring you to then go through this library of imagery and
and people
points.
Like Steinsky would do it in his mixes, like take like speeches and throw them on top of beats, and they would be rhythmic. Like he would cut them up and they would kind of create like a song. I'm pretty much, it's kind of the same thing. I'm taking like the Office Space thing. I'm taking that because it's just talking, but just I can manipulate it in any which way. So you can turn almost, I'm not gonna say everything, but a lot of things into music.
Yeah.
Whether it's speeches or a stand-up comedy routine or something, or just a scene from a movie.
And from in terms of technology, what has been the shift for you over, say, the last 5, 6, 7 years, from the skill set that you brought into this initially to where you are now? Has that changed what you feel you need to bring to the equation, both from a competitive standpoint and just from your own creativity?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the skill set, I mean, aside from the technical aspect of just like having been scratching for over 10 years,
right.
There definitely is a competitive side to it because, in the early days of, turntablism and scratching, it was all about the battles. Like, you would do nothing but try to win that battle every year, and if you didn't win, you'd try the next year, and if it was just like. And
you started out as a hip hop DJ. I mean, in essence, you came into this not to be who you see now, but you came into this to be a hip hop DJ out there scratching.
Yeah, if you told me I would be wearing a suit on stage every night.
What were you wearing? You were telling me backstage you were
I was
before
wearing like
this
hoodies and the long shorts and stuff and the bucket hats and everything. And a friend of mine was just like, all right, first of all, you gotta lose that because there's look around you. There's 15 other Asian DJs dressed just like you at this battle. And it matters, you know what I mean? Like, it definitely...
Especially up in the Bay, right?
Oh, man, yeah. People still think I'm Qbert, which is weird. Or I get Kid Koala a lot.
Right,
But it definitely made a difference. And just having that grown up in that time where it was just like you go from like practicing in your room to this big stage of like this like national battle. It kind of freaks you out the first time, It's like, wow, this music's really loud. Like, I can actually feel it. It's not just in my headphones. So that's a little shocking. So it takes a little while to get used to. But that was a really good training, I think, for me. Spending an entire year on like a 5-minute routine. That's crazy. Who does that?
Yeah.
That's insane.
So you were talking about the creation of your brand as well, like the aesthetic, that the tie, the suit, the black and white ensemble. That was conscious. That was a very conscious effort. I mean, that's not, how important is that do you think, to your success? I don't want to frame it as any gimmickry, but how important is that has
yeah,
that been
well, I
to you?
definitely didn't want it to be like, well, that's all I got. But
Right.
you know,
He dresses nice.
at least I got that. But I definitely felt like I had something to offer, and it you know, being able to do something different is great, but then presenting it is a whole other thing. Like I said, like we would start out in our, you know, in our parents' garage or whatever, practicing for these battles, and you know, the first couple times you do it, you know, things work at home that in your mind you're so like, oh, this is the most badass thing ever, and then you do it, it's like, this isn't working out too well. I wish I could go back to the drawing board now, but you know, you're there, you're kind of on the spot.
Right.
So that's where I kind of learned that presentation counts, because there was, you know, in a competition, there's always that one weird guy who would play like the most wacky music that you would never, and everyone kind of like, he never, you know, won, never made the top 5 or whatever, you know, whatever you're shooting for, but everyone remembers that guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't remember who that was now, but back then it was definitely like, oh, that's the guy who's gonna, you know, he'll play something crazy.
Some part of the routine that was
Yeah,
just
it doesn't even have
the
to make
event
sense.
of the night. Yeah.
It's not even on beat, but
Yeah.
he plays it, and everybody laughs, and it's like, wow, okay, he's wearing a funny hat or whatever. You know, I don't want to make a joke out of myself, but you know, just you know, if you're on stage and already, if you're a DJ, people think you're just playing records. So I had that to kind of battle.
Right.
And
the turntable is a bit of a cliche. I mean,
it is, yeah.
Right.
It's like,
So
oh, great, let's start scratching. Let's go to the bar. you know?
Right.
Like I was sick of that. So, you know, started going on tour, and that was another thing. Is I was touring, so I didn't want to really have to think about what I was wearing every day, because you know, you see pictures online. It's like, wow, I was wearing that last week, and I'm wearing that now, and I haven't washed it, and so I figured if I just wear a suit, it's you can't. It's just like, that's it.
Right.
Cool. It's on purpose. And it definitely adds something to just being on stage, because you wanna show that you're making an effort to present yourself.
Yeah.
You know, so that people pay attention, I guess.
And tell me about, you know, talking about effort and brand and feedback. We are in the real-time web world, you know, the social web. What does that do for an artist when your feedback and your audience interaction is a continuum and constant and unrelenting and unforgiving, sometimes supportive, sometimes probably not? But what does that do to the artist's psyche? And do you care? Do you measure it? Do you interact with it?
I care a lot. Yeah, I'm very conscious of that, because, I mean, even when I just did this, I'm thinking, okay, what's everybody twittering about right now? Like, I'm almost afraid to look. You know what I mean? Like, but you have to, because it's. I mean, you take everything with a grain of salt. You know, on my YouTube videos, you get a bunch of comments, and a lot of them are very, you know, they'll be positive. There'll also be the not so positive ones that are kind of in the middle, but not super supportive. Then there's just the haters, and then there's just the racists and the sexists, and you know,
Especially on YouTube.
yeah, it's kind of funny, but to get that instant feedback you can't get that anywhere else. You know, even you know, back when you would put a record out, and it's like, okay, well, sales are doing pretty good over here for whatever reason. I'm not really sure. You know, it's hard to tell, but over here you can track that. You know, when I'm on Facebook, I leave my status open so people can talk to me, and I can get conversations going. It's usually.
So you like that? I mean, you embrace it. You were fully, and you were telling me that what is your biggest platform for that interaction? What does it tend to be? Facebook, YouTube? Is it?
Definitely. I mean, I like YouTube the best, because it's where I can put things out and get that interaction. Like Facebook is kind of cool because it's more of a one-on-one. It's more of a conversation. I don't care who's a pirate or who's a vampire or whatever, but it's nice to just have that. You know,
Did you not get my pirate I sent you?
Yeah. And what are the other ones? Like Twitter is great because it's instant.
Yeah.
It's like you put something up and it's like you just put a little at sign before it, and it's going crazy.
Yeah. Talk about the year we're still having, obviously, we're still in the year, but DJs have been in the news for a lot of difficult situations and unfortunate situations, sad situations. How have you reflected on that? I know you had some personal involvement with, you said you were working on some fundraisers for Rock Rada before he passed. What do you see as anything that is coming out of that from either, is there a support network that is deep enough for these independent artists? Are there certain holes in the system that or is it just a bad, tragic year? I mean,
it's definitely a tragic year. I mean, I didn't think that it would reach because I think AM and Rock Rada were the first out of kind of like well, Rock Rada's a little bit before, but just I knew him, so
right.
it was like definitely a reality check, for a lot of us, and especially with Rada because initially he was in the hospital,
right.
and we weren't sure if he was going to even walk again, and if he was, it was going to be a very long road of therapy, and it's like, wow, how do you deal with this financially? So we're putting our heads together to figure out what we can do to help him, but now the fundraisers are for his family,
right?
Which is really sad. AM situation is, that's another unfortunate one, and I didn't know him personally, so.
But do you think do you think that the situations have, this is a year where we're debating healthcare and we're talking about everything from personal responsibility to government support networks and
it's important because a lot of DJs don't have healthcare. We're all independent contractors, basically. Right. It's not like there's no union. There's most of us aren't covered.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's definitely something that we need to look at as a community. I just hope that after the grieving process, that needs to be talked about.
Yeah.
Because it's important. There's a lot of DJs out there. There's a lot of people making a living from DJing, and whether you're playing at a bar every week or a club or on the radio, these are things that you need, especially here.
Yeah. What about on the commercial side of what you do, what producers and other artists of your caliber have done with scoring for TV, film, games? What successes have you had with that, and how does an artist position themselves for that type? And I take it, we were talking backstage, the stigma of that, of moving towards that, is not what it was. It's totally okay. In fact, that's great, and people,
it's kind of encouraged.
Looking at RGD2 and others that have had success. Mm-hmm. What do you need to do?
Well, I've licensed one song to one game, so I don't really know exactly what it takes. Because I put out one record.
Right.
And most of the stuff that I do is pretty gray as far as legal things go. But for RJ,
so it's a special challenge for you.
It is.
But that was the same for. Z-Trip had that going into his career. He had made a career off of. How did he make the jump? He went to albums and now games.
He made a record which also. I know he was dealing with sample clearances.
Absolutely.
And I know Shadowwood, RJ. Everybody has.
Right.
I've had my share of things, but for RJ, we were talking about the Mad Men thing, and that was amazing. Right. And I think that was, I just believe that he got that because he has fans who are in the position to do that. It's not like maybe he did, try to.
His fans are in the place to put the music.
Yeah. I just don't.
They're in that role, and yeah.
I know him, but I don't know him like. He wouldn't call me up and be like, dude, I'm going to HBO to pitch this whole thing. I don't think it happened like that. I think that somebody was a genuine fan and saw that his music would just be perfect for that, and it is. But again, like you said, it's a very encouraged thing now. It's great. I think it's amazing that you can do that.
And you're doing also, for lack of the term, but obviously these mashups for studios and kind of these promotional virals. Explain what that process is like and what that's
well,
been.
rather than, before it would be like you do something with a video or a song, and you're just like counting the days down till YouTube pulls it down because the labels are on there. But now, like Lionsgate has approached me to do work with them, and I love that because they understand that, okay, if any of you guys were planning on going to Best Buy and buying Office space, you're not going to not buy it because you just saw me do something with it on stage here. And that's just my whole thing. It's like, yeah, I'm using it, but is it really, who's it hurting? Like, am I taking sales away? Am I degrading the value of it? Like, I'm an artist, and I try to keep the integrity there. I mean, it's definitely like a funny thing, but it's a comedy.
Yeah.
If I was taking like a scene from Schindler's List and making it, ridiculously funny.
You were doing something to degrade the
I can see
original
where
work.
the problem,
maybe there'd be a conflict.
Yeah, I can see where the problem would be, but I don't think that's the case. And like again with Lionsgate, like they see that I can do these things with trailers and ads and stuff. They're like, well, here, we'll give you whatever you need. Just go to town and see where we can take it. And it's a different take on a trailer. It's like you have the straightforward like, here we go, movie's coming out, and then you have mine where it's like, oh, okay, that's movie's coming out still, but that's kind of cool.
You were your thoughts about doing this type of performance came before the technology.
Yeah.
Right?
It was total science fiction to me.
Right? It was in your head. You saw it. Like, imagine if you could. So what are you imagining right now?
I mean, I really feel like this is just the beginning.
Yeah.
Just like how, records were just the beginning. Now you can scratch MP3s and videos and everything. The medium, I think, will remain the same because you really can't beat the control that you have with vinyl. I hate to sound like a purist. And trust me, if there was a better way to do it, I'd be on it. But right now, there just isn't. So I just think that with the advancements in 3D technology and holograms and it's just like, come on, it's gonna be ridiculous.
There's an interesting arc too that DJing took, right? It went from the purist to CDs in essence for like a heartbeat, and then it went back to a pure form, but using what was good about CDs. Access to more music.
Exactly, the digital.
Less stuff to carry, the digital element, burn your own CDs, right? Before that, if you wanted to bring something that you made, like a dub player.
Yeah,
like
you'd have to make
a tape deck or
you
something.
Play it 4 times.
Yeah.
And
So something to be said for where technology is not always just in that straight line. Right?
Yeah, I would have never thought that it would be, it was always like one or the other. Like you're either like a digital dude or you're an analog dude. And you hate each other.
Right.
Like we would go to these things and it's like, oh great, here's the CD guy. What are you gonna do with your CDs? And now
Now you really say that if you see a CD guy.
Yeah. Well, yeah. But now everyone's down. And also before when we were on vinyl, it was like everyone. You got to cover up your records because no one can know what the record is.
Right.
Don't even look. Don't even try it. It's gonna have a different label. But now people are trading hard drives.
Right.
I've gotten so many different collections.
But you don't
from
know
people.
anybody that does that, right?
Oh no. But just like people are like swapping collections.
Right.
I've got like 18 different MP3s of like one song. I don't really need this, but everyone's just like swapping, and I think that's great. I think just to take the veil off of that, and it is very cool to have like a certain track that no one else does. But now it's to the point where you got to make it. Like if you want something exclusive, you have to make it yourself.
Right.
And that's what I think is great about it. That's what's pushing the creativity.
Right.
It's not like, ooh, I got this new MP3 from this new blog or whatever.
Well, in the making it too is an evolution of making something. It's not in the old guard making is You got out the original pigment and you painted something. Making, in your case, is a blend. It's a concoction of sorts, right? So
yeah, it's taking like whatever I feel.
you could be making from two made things, and then you know.
Exactly.
I mean, that's the case for everything right now in where media is at. And of course, the gatekeeping is not, you know, they talk about paywalls and this and that. I mean, these are more and more difficult to enforce, right? It's more and more difficult. So from a content creator standpoint, do you feel that you're in a more freer position to do what you do now? Or I know there was some debate yesterday about rights and iPhone apps and RIAA. I wasn't here, but I heard there was some exchange. Oh, okay. We're gonna go to some audience questions. I'm taking too much of the floor time, so you want to jump to that? Let's do some audience questions, because I don't want to take all this. Gentleman right there.
To look behind the curtain of what you did for the curious and the novices, how were you generating the video? In what format, and what allowed you to manipulate the video image like you would scratch a vinyl record?
The format of the videos is QuickTime, and the program I use is Serato Scratch Live. It's started out as a DJ program with, you know, like we were talking about, just controlling the MP3s and AIFs, and they incorporated a video element, which works out great for me.
And you can really, someone could have handed you a clip, you know, 20 minutes ago, and you could incorporate that into QuickTime into his set right now. Okay. Some other questions? Gentleman back there.
Thanks. So I'm struck by the issue. I'm struck by your ability to comment on the musician-to-musician relationship between samplers and the sampled, and I'm wondering about your personal voice in that conversation, specifically to the musicians who you're sampling. So the context is we're thinking about the law of sampling and how the law can, you know, can be good, and I'm really struck by what seems to me is really extraordinary unfairness to you. I mean, on a personal level, you know what I mean, and unfairness on behalf of other musicians, right? The musicians who you're sampling are presumed to be harmed by your work, and let's just say it's hard to be a musician, man. I feel bad for the guy who's not making any money, and he was a great drummer. He did terrific work. So I wonder if you could talk to the guys who you're sampling, and let's, you know, what do you feel would be fair? What do you feel you owe them and you don't owe them?
Do you feel there's the same weight, though? Do you feel
I
that
think it's different? Well, I mean, as a DJ, our thing is always promotion of the music that we're using, because we're not really, it's not like you go to a club and you can like download whatever song you're hearing right now. We're using it as sort of, you know, it's kind of an awareness. Like, you know, there's a lot of times when I'll have a song that I'm working with, and you know, people are asking me, what is that one? And I'll say, here it is. This is what it is, and here's where you can get it. I don't give the music out. Definitely using it in a performance, but I don't sell that where people would not go out and support that artist. Like if I use a
you don't feel there's cannibalization going on from what you're doing. If anything,
no.
you're like, oh yeah, I remember that. I gotta
It's
go.
more of a nod.
Right.
Same with the movies that I use. It's more of like, hey, I watched this. Maybe you guys do too. Let's laugh together, and then maybe you'll watch it. You know, I've never felt that I've infringed on anyone's sales or careers. I've never set out to harm anyone by even, you know, the context of what I do. If I'm showing something in a mocking way or in a comedic way, it's because it's a comedy anyways. Right. It's just a different way to present it, and never gotten any complaints, so.
Other questions for Mike? Yeah, gentleman back there, glasses.
Do you sell your records?
I sell my original work.
Yeah, and does it contain lots of samples?
No, my record contains no samples. Yeah, ironically enough.
It's only on live stuff that you use samples.
Yeah, it's only my live show where I sample heavily on my live show. My record is completely different, all original stuff.
I mean, I think that you're raising some really interesting issues, because it seems to me that what you're doing there is really original, it's really creative. I really liked it. Now, if I was Schultz, what should I be saying? Should I say, hey, if you're going to sell that, I'm going to sue your ass? Now, that's clearly not a good idea. But maybe I might also say, well, if you're going to get $1 for it, maybe I should get 5 cents. And that seems to me is the issue, that not that you're harming Schultz, but that in a sense you're using his work, and if you hired someone to do some drawing for you, you'd pay them. So, you know, what's your thoughts on all that sort of bullshit?
Well, again, I'm a DJ, and if you were to do that with every DJ plays, you know, other people's music at clubs, you can shut down every single club and every festival in the world, and because that's how it works. Like, you play that music. I'm doing the same thing with film. Like, you can, you know, how would Vegas be if you couldn't play other people's music? And a lot of artists, you know, who make club music want you, you know, send the song straight to the DJ so that it can get played in the clubs and kind of have that viral growth. So again, it's the same thing as being a DJ.
But don't you think there's some value in the original work that you're using, and that some proportion of the financial benefit which is being generated, whether to you or to the club or whatever, should go to the people who are making the essential content? So, I mean, when I was talking about Schultz, I was thinking in terms of if you were selling that. So that was, as it were, on the grounds that you were selling that. You know? Right. I just do think it's a very interesting issue that these.
I would say more people go to a club in Vegas to hear a Little John song than go to my show to see me scratch peanuts.
But but the clubs in Vegas and the clubs where you disc jockey, they do pay the songwriters. They have an ASCAP BMI CSAC license. So whatever you play, there is money getting back, and there is payment being made. So I mean, actually those performances are licensed by the songwriters.
That's great. I mean,
there's someone out there trying to figure out how to get money out of him. I'm sure.
I mean,
okay.
I think
they're probably in his audience.
I mean, I'm not really.
I'm sure the finger's right next to the button. We haven't heard from anybody. I'd like to. I mean, luckily, worked out great for Danger Mouse.
I mean, I'm not in favor of sort of screwing everybody. I just think that somehow, in the long run, the amount of stuff that's going to be happening, that there is a sort of long-term issue and a problem. And the traditional thing is, oh, shut him down, take him to court, you know, all that stuff. And I mean, that clearly is dead, or ought to be. And so then where do we go from there?
I would like to be in a position to do something. And when, you know, I mean, if the companies looked at what I'm making, like, to be perfectly honest, they would laugh. When I am in the position where I am making millions of dollars, and I feel like, yeah, I probably do owe something to the original artist. Yeah, I should do something about that. But right now, it's a very early. The art form is in its infant stages. So it needs to grow to get to that point, because taking a piece of my pie is, it's going to be pathetic, I'll be honest. I don't have that many
Who wants
suits.
pathetic pie?
Yeah. Delicious pie, but it's not as much as you'll be getting from Club Rain, you know.
We,
Oh, I was just going to say...
I've been told to cut, so it's up to the man in the white shirt. Okay.
Oh, I just not really a question, but maybe just an observation that maybe connects what Peter was just saying to the Spotify conversation, because I would predict that in the next, maybe 6 months to a year, there's going to be a DJ platform on top of Spotify where you can sample from within the archive and create music inside of that environment, and that will be legal because it's possible, technically speaking. And I think a lot of these conversations will be fundamentally changed because of that. So I'll be interested to see how that progresses. And I wonder if either of you have comments about that.
I'm not even sure what Spotify
I can't,
is.
let's just assume that I don't know what it is either, but I heard you were talking about it. But you're talking about, though, a way to pay for the usage, right?
Well, yeah, basically that the music is already being paid for
Right,
through all,
so kind of
a
like
lot of an ensemble of different revenue streams, and one can kind of surf the archive
Right.
with abandon because it's legal. And
I think what you lose in that, and is that the spontaneity, the finds that he comes across, that he's pulling stuff that people don't even know has a value, right? There's nothing to it until he creates something with it, So you're as much as I can understand the wanting to get to some legal playing field, right? You also, from a creative standpoint, it's not
Kind of
something.
misses the point.
Yeah, like it's a gem that hasn't been seen for 20 years, and he puts it into a set, and is like, oh man, that's seen. And that person in that company then now has to then come and now value it from its new creation in essence, because it wasn't even.
no, I mean,
valuable
I'm not. What I'm saying is that the fact that this is an issue, I think, is going to evolve and perhaps disappear because of this possibility, so that artists like you will be artists who work within the environment of recorded music that's pre-existing, and it won't I would think that the legal repercussions of the work that you do would not be as much of a problem in the future because of that. That's just my...
But you would have to catalog the entire recordings of humankind, in essence, because you never know what somebody in his world is going to stumble upon.
Yeah, because what my concern, in a sense, is actually a very positive concern. It's that if we don't find a way of sorting this out, there's going to be a series of 16-ton weights dropped on people who are making very creative work. And that, in a sense, is what worries me, is that the people who do own the old copyrights will say, well, I licensed it for you to listen to it on Spotify, not for someone else to make a recording and do something else with it and whatever. And who's going to get that money?
Well, someone should hire...
Who is going to get that money?
Like
I think it's a real long-term problem that I think is important that we resolve, because it's going to be kept underground to some extent as long as there's no sort of legal possibilities, and we've got to do it so it's not a complete bureaucratic legal nightmare, because at the moment if you wanted to clear that thing with Schultz, I mean, it probably got, God knows if you'd be able to do it. They probably wouldn't let you do it.
Basically preempt it.
We have to find a way that the creativity that is being manifest here, is clear, that it's not going to get stopped by people saying, no, you can't do that because that's against the rules.
Yeah, but again, like we were talking about with clubs paying a stipend, there's a lot of money in that, and I think that this just needs to grow to get to that point. And if it means using things right now that's not pre-agreed upon, I think it needs to happen. I think it really does. The same thing with you know, DJing and people make sample-based, you know, short films and stuff. How about student films? Should you pay for those? And I mean, there's.
Who makes Serato? Is Rain?
It's Serato. It's a software company.
It is its own thing.
Yeah.
It's not owned by anybody. Well, they should hire you to consult whatever the next evolution of this is to deal with all these licensing issues. So I think we definitely have to wrap it up. But obviously Mike's around.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thanks, man.